Hello friends, welcome to IAS Gurukul and today I am with Gamini. Gamini Singla, she has secured All India Rank 3 in the Civil Services Examination of 2021. She had Sociology as her optional. I had an opportunity to play a bit role in her endeavour, and she has made all people associated with her, whether it is her family, in fact her whole mohalla, and us all very proud. And I hope that from this interaction you guys can learn something and possibly incorporate in your preparation strategy. Welcome to IAS Gurukul once again, and you've done immensely well, and I'm sure the feeling must be ecstatic. So how was it when you saw the result? Were you expecting it?
Thank you so much, sir, for your warm wishes. And I think in an examination like UPSC, we can never expect to even come in the list. And getting such a good rank, I think it was really very overwhelming.
Yes.
And I felt that I have been blessed, truly blessed to achieve this ranking. And everybody was very happy.
Yes.
And I was really very satisfied. And the feeling was like the hard work has paid off.
Were you ever sure that you'll make it to the list at least at any stage?
No, sir, because I knew that I had put my efforts fully, but you never know whether your efforts are in consistency with what the UPSC is demanding and what others are doing, because it's a relative exam.
Yes.
So in that way, you can never predict to come in the list.
Absolutely. In fact, I remember not just you, even Dr. Singla, your father, he was putting in almost an equal amount of effort. Say anywhere 4 to 5 hours a day he was putting in your UPSC preparation, doing the background work, talking to mentors and teachers like me, yeah, and reading newspapers for you, making notes. So it's taken the whole family's efforts.
Yes, sir, definitely. As you mentioned, that it was an entire family effort. So everybody played their roles very well. My mother, my father, and my brother. So I would say that their duties were fixed while I was working for the mission. So it's like I'm the captain of the ship and they all are there, just cheering me up. And at every stage they were there. So yes, the collective efforts of the family are there, go behind such a kind of a journey.
Great. Gamini, tell us about your ethics preparation, because you've scored like exceedingly well in the ethics paper, 124.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so what was your approach to preparing for ethics?
So one thing that I would like to mention first is that ethics is a subject which is neglected by the students.
Yes.
One, because in the prelims this is not asked, so we get only 2.5 months to prepare, and then the optional also comes in those months.
Yes.
And the second thing is that people think that it is very generic subject and we do not need to read about it a lot or study in detail. So I was very sure of putting good amount of efforts in ethics also. So I started with reading the syllabus well, first of all, because the syllabus is defined in the mains portion at least, so that way we are very safe. Absolutely. So I read the keywords very carefully, understood the meanings of all the keywords. I took a lot of help from the online sources and Google, of course. So I knew the difference between different keywords, and that also helped me understand the demand of the UPSC with respect to ethics. So specifically in the case studies, I made sure that I put those keywords. For example, if I'm taking a particular approach, I explain that how this is going to be in coherence with the keywords that are explained in the ethics paper, so that the entire question looks very ethical. And apart from that, a lot of examples and case studies I tried to incorporate. And the case studies can be from any field. They must not only be from the UPSC or from the administration or the IAS officers are doing great work. That is also one kind of example.
Yes.
But I tended to put it from even the sports section, or if any normal day-to-day observations are there. So I think that kind of coherence and that kind of correlation helped me score a good score.
Yes. Another neglected aspect of UPSC preparation is the essay paper, which I always tell you students that it is one of the more low hanging fruits. It doesn't require the same amount of effort or time input, but whatever inputs you give, it can yield great results. So were you conscious and did you prepare sufficiently for the essay paper?
Yes, sir. So my approach was that, again, that I do not neglect a paper from my side. So I heard a few topper strategies. Some of them had written essays, some of them did not. But I chose to play it very wise. So I had practiced writing a lot of essays beforehand, so that I do not feel that it's entirely new for me. And I think in an essay paper what works is that you have the knowledge with you and
Yes.
the content is there, but the structuring becomes very, very important there. So I used to spend a good 10-15 minutes of time to just structure my essay, to cover multiple dimensions as far as possible, and to apply my own mind in how the statement, we can just justify the statement from different angles.
Yes.
Like political angle, social, economic, environmental, ethical angle. So from all those angles I tried to explain that particular statement, and again I used a lot of examples, the recent policies of the governments, and incorporated the current news as well.
Yes, in fact, it is only the essay paper where you can somewhat reflect a bit of your own personality,
Yes,
right? The
sir.
GS and the optional papers simply don't provide you the bandwidth for that.
Right, sir. And that reminds me that essay should not be written from the point of view of a philosophical person or a sociologist, because that has to be written from a very generalist perspective.
Absolutely.
So, and we must not quote a number of thinkers, or a number of quotations should not be used. I think sometimes we tend to go overboard with it.
Yes.
So I just realized that it has to reflect my personality a lot, and then I can take help of some of the thinkers, or some of the good quotations can be pick and chosen like a salt, so that
Yes.
they do not exceed the limit.
Absolutely. In fact, you can use your knowledge that you may have gained by studying GS or optional,
Yes.
but you don't make it sociological, because your essay paper can be checked by a person from any background, unlike the
Exactly.
sociology paper.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Right. Tell me, how was your interview experience, beta? UPSC.
So the interview experience was very nice, I would say, and the board members and the panelists are very, very cordial, and given that the kind of experience that they are carrying, and it's a very memorable discussion. So I even tended to learn a lot from the manner they were asking the questions,
Yes.
and whatever comments they were making or they were suggesting me. So the overall it was a very nice experience, and I really enjoyed the interview process.
In fact, that's also what I always tell students, that it is not an exercise in intimidation. You know, they are not there to literally find faults in you.
Right, sir. Definitely.
It is more of an intelligent conversation that they are trying to have with you.
Exactly, sir.
And was the interview made any more stressful due to the pandemic?
Not really, sir. There were some questions, some tricky questions which were related to the pandemic or the COVID-19, but as such, every aspect was being covered.
I meant in the sense, because you would have to wear the face shield and the mask, so you know that interaction aspect is that much
Yes,
difficult.
sir.
You know, you can't convey with your facial expressions, etc.
Yes, sir. That's true. So even in the mock interviews, I heard a lot that your smile is nice and you should smile a lot. But there I had to put the mask on, and the shield was also there.
Yes.
But after some time, the panelist members asked me to remove the shield at least.
Huh.
But again, your facial expressions do not show a lot. So
Yes.
I think it's only what you say that matters. Your expressions are somewhat hidden in the entire.
Gamini beta, now tell us about choosing sociology as your optional. Why did you take up sociology, given that you don't have a background in the subject? You and I, we know it, but for the students watching it, let us clarify. Gamini has done engineering in computer science, and she has no academic prior academic acquaintance with sociology or an academic background in the subject. So what made you take up sociology?
So a number of factors play a part when you're choosing the optional. So one factor that must determine is your interest, because you cannot study a subject in detail if you're not interested in it, or if you feel very boring, and because you need to devote a lot of time to optional. So one was definitely interest, and the topics were really interesting because they were like family and everything from the gender perspective that we see in the day-to-day life. So the idea of knowing them more in depth from different perspectives, that enthused me a lot. And the second thing was that the syllabus was very comprehensive and very short. So I thought that it could be completed timely, and I could even go and do multiple revisions. So that was also one thing. And the material was also easily available. So these aspects I kept in mind, and there was some overlapping with the GS also. So I thought my concepts will be better, and it will be able to help me in the GS papers also.
So do you think in hindsight it helped you in GS and in essay?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think the kind of conceptual clarity that you get from the subject, it does help you a lot in all the subjects. And even in the mains, there's a lot of correlation between the different papers that we can do. So I used my sociological understanding really well.
And Gamini, what was broadly your strategy for sociology preparation?
So my strategy for sociology preparation was to first of all understand the keywords really well, and each part of the syllabus I thought that I should not miss any topic,
Yes.
because we could have any question from any of the subtopics.
Correct.
For that I referred to a number of basic books and a lot of material, and then I came up with my notes. And the basic strategy was that I make a write-up of around 250-300 words on every particular topic, so that in whichever angle the question is asked, I'm able to answer to the demand of the question, and I have enough material and understanding in the backside.
Right. And tell us, like, how does one write marks fetching answers for sociology? Gamini has scored very well in her sociology papers, amongst the highest. Not the highest, but amongst the highest. In paper 1 particularly, she scored 154, right, which is a remarkable score given the current marking pattern. So tell us, Gamini, like, what got you this many marks?
So fun was the practice, because only with practice we can write good answers. So initially when I used to write the answer, it was really bad, and even it consumed a lot of time to complete the paper. So with practice it gets better. And secondly, I made sure that in an answer I incorporate thinkers from different perspectives.
Yes.
So sometimes what we tend to do is that if you're mentioning about the positivist aspect, so we tend to quote 5 or 6 thinkers from the same aspect, and then we say that we've quoted a number of thinkers. But what is also important is that in a general answer you need to mention about different aspects and different dimensions. So if you're mentioning the positivist, you please mention the Marxist, then you mention the feminist perspective also. That makes your answer very balanced, and in the end we can conclude it in a balanced manner. The other thing that helped me in the answer writing was correlation among the two papers. So I used the thinkers of paper 1 and paper 2, and then I also used the thinkers of paper 2 and paper 1. And apart from that, I took help of the newspapers a lot, because current affairs, if you incorporate the current affairs as an example, as a case study to just substantiate your point, I think that makes your answer look very diverse, because you're not just quoting the thinkers and cramming the stuff, but that reflects that you have studied the subject well.
Absolutely. And one particular issue one faces while writing answers in sociology, particularly paper 2, is how do you distinguish them from a similar question or a question on the same topic in your general studies papers, right? So what was your approach to that beta?
So that was something that was worrying for me also, because the questions are pretty generic sometimes.
Yes.
And the same questions sometimes even come under the general studies paper also. So it means they're looking for something different, which we tend not to write in the GS. For that I went through the syllabus very well. So it means whatever is mentioned in the sociology syllabus is something which is sociological. So I used those keywords to explain my points further. For example, family, gender, social structure. These keywords make your answer a little more sociological, and then you can substantiate your point with any of the general thinkers. Sometimes say scheme is mentioned. We do not have a thinker with respect to that scheme directly, but we can just correlate that scheme with one of the sociological topics, and once that correlation is done, we can just quote the generic thinker on that topic. So I think these questions just require a little bit of witty approach, because these cannot be answered very directly. And again, I used case studies, data points and examples a lot in such questions.
Right. Tell me also, Gamini, like how much of answer writing practice did you get for sociology?
For sociology also, I started with self-evaluation of my answers. I used to write like 2-3 answers a day and just used to self-evaluate how have I written. And it started with that. Then I shifted to full mock tests also. For that I attempted at least 9 to 10 mock tests, and I think that was it. And meanwhile I used to study the toppers sheets also, because that helps you get the idea of how good an answer is being evaluated, like which answer is considered good by UPSC too.
Yes. And coming to that self-evaluation, how did you go about it?
For the self-evaluation, as I mentioned, I had the topper copies as my reference. And secondly, when you read your answer yourself as a teacher, you understand that whether the sense is coming out clearly or whether we can incorporate something. And I used to read them thrice or even 4-5 times. And whatever points I thought that I had missed, I would just note them down. And even in my notes, I would incorporate those points, that if the question comes on such and such topic, this kind of example and case study can be written. So I think it's it's also about the mental preparation that goes once you evaluate the answers. So that I tended to do. And another thing that helped me was that I always kept that question in mind whenever I was reading the newspaper or whenever I was reading the standard books. So when I had the question in the mind, I could just correlate that this stuff can be put there also. So that also helped me to improve the quality of my answers.
Yes. And Gamini, if I remember correctly, you did quote a fair number of scholars in your answers. Yes. And so how does one remember so many scholarly names? That is a challenge many students face. Yeah.
Yes, sir, that is in itself a very big challenge. But I would say that just cramming will not help here. Understanding the thinkers becomes very, very important in a paper like sociology. So we have 6 general thinkers in paper 1. I think they can be quoted in every topic. I think any topic, one of those thinkers can be quoted. So one
Surely.
thinker is directly done from there. And for the others, I had to revise a lot. So I sometimes just used to write the thinker and the topic in front of their name, that
Yes.
this thinker is talking about this.
Yes.
Because most often we remember the concept given by a thinker, but we are not able to associate it directly. Okay, that this thinker is saying this thing.
Yes.
We know the concepts differently, we know the thinkers, but correlation is sometimes missing. So for that, I just used to note down the name of the thinkers, note down in brief the name of the topics, and just used to revise again and again.
Yes. So revision is the key.
Yes,
And there are no
definitely.
shortcuts.
Definitely.
For that. Also, Gamini, tell me, how did you tackle the unexpected questions in sociology? You know, those which you are not prepared for and they are kind of bouncers. Unexpected.
So for those questions, one thing I made sure was that I write something, because if we leave the question, the answer sheet blank, that's a direct 0. So anything more than 0, if you're fetching in such marks, it's just adding to your chances to get into the list. So I think some questions are pretty indirect, and once you read them, you feel like you do not have a content on them. So I just try to answer them in the most generic way as possible, because if the question is mentioning about any keyword or any syllabus topic, then I would just answer it, give a generic answer, and anything I could satisfy the demand of the question in a minute way, because I knew that I will not be able to fetch very good marks, but generically also whatever marks are possible, you should not leave them.
Absolutely. And tell me now, you've prepared during the pandemic times. So, how is like the experience of preparing for UPSC entirely online? Is it feasible? Because a lot of people have that thing that they must shift to Delhi or come to Delhi.
So I never felt the need to come to Delhi per se, and so I felt very comfortable in my home and study, because I think there are so many perks of staying at home.
Absolutely.
You're staying at your comfortable place. You do not have to worry about food and a lot of other things.
Yes.
The disturbance is also very less. You have your own space to study. So I think online study is a boon too, if we take it in a very positive manner, and if we use the online resources efficiently. I think it can help the aspirants a lot.
Absolutely. In fact, it saves you so much, time and money and the hassle of shifting to another city.
Definitely.
Tell me, Gamini, what was your daily routine while preparing?
So my daily routine was like that. I was a morning person, so I used to get up at around 5 at least. So then I started my day very enthusiastically, because I knew that my hours are going to be the most productive. So in the first half, I used to cover majority of my studies. Then I took a good break also in the evening and during the lunch time, so that I could sit again for another sitting. And when my parents used to come back from work, then also I used to have that time as my break time, so that I could interact, we could discuss the day, and then I used to go for a walk also, a small walk, and then I came again and gave another sitting, and then I went to bed pretty early so that I could get up again at 5 a.m.
In a typical day, how many hours of effort would that be for UPSC?
I cannot quote one number, but on an average, yes, 8 to 9 hours did go. But sometimes the amount was even high, and sometimes when I did not feel so productive, so the number of hours went a little down also.
Yes. Gamini, like we are living in the information age, so we are inundated with good quality materials, multiple books and websites and everything. So how does one choose? How do you pick and choose between this material and confine yourself to few?
So I think we need to trust whatever we have picked once.
Yes.
That's very important. So sometimes we just tend to go haywire when we listen to another material that is coming, or we listen to some other topper referring to this particular material. So I think it's not just the material, it's also how you do it very well, how much revisions you've done. So that kind of over enthusiasm about just the quality of the material, I think that's something that is the major source of worry for the aspirants. And for that, the simple rule is that trust with whatever source you've picked once.
Yes.
And if you feel that something is missing truly, then you can just refer to the online resources. We have all the things available over internet. We have the standard books.
Yes.
And I think standard books play a very important role because they never change. They are just going to be the same. So make them your friends for the conceptual clarity. Then just go with the source, and I think then when you appear in the test series, then it shows that whether you've been able to cover the subjects well or not, and whether some portions are missing. Then anytime you can just replenish yourself with extra content at that moment.
Yes. A lot of students, they spend, should I say, like disproportionate time preparing for current affairs. While it is important, but then, if you're spending say 3.5 hours a day only for current affairs, that in my assessment is somewhat stretched. So how did you balance that, and what were the limited sources that you would refer for current affairs?
Yes, sir, current affairs are very important, but again we need to balance it with the static portion and the optional subject as well.
Yes.
So because we never know which portion is going to dominate the exam any year. That is something which is very unpredictable. So we cannot just give more focus to a particular aspect and neglect the other one entirely. For me, current affairs was newspaper reading, and then I also used to refer to the daily news analysis that was there in one or two websites. So the combination of both of them I thought was taking care of the current affairs preparation for me, and then I revised from the same sources that I had followed on the daily basis.
Okay. And how about notes making here? A lot of students find that very cumbersome. It does take a lot of time and they are confused. Should we just refer to the standard books, or should one have notes in one's own handwriting? And how do you make notes, like whether they should be digital or physical? So what was your approach to making notes?
So one advice to the aspirants is that it doesn't matter how you make the notes, whether you make the notes, and whether they are digital, whether they are in the written form.
Yes.
This is one area where you have the choice.
Yes.
And you should do as per your comfort. So I liked pen and paper more, so I felt more comfortable with that. I've seen few of my friends clearing with the digital notes, and I never made notes from the standard books at least, because I felt that it will be a lot of time wastage to note down the same thing that has been very well written. So I used different pens to do different kind of markings. For prelims, I would have a different kind of marking. For mains, I would do some other marking. Or just the color of the pencils can solve your purpose. So I think for that I did not make notes. But for the current affairs and from the newspaper analysis, I did note down a few points. And that was also in the format of an answer only. So that when I appear in the mains, I have my structure ready, and the editorials analysis in my mind has been done very nicely. And those notes I referred before the mains.
And how many revisions, Gamini, you would have done of the syllabus, like before appearing for the exam?
Again, sir, I never kept in mind that I have to do these many revisions, but I would say as much as possible. However, how much time you have, plan it that you at least tend to do 3 revisions, and if you can do more, it's only going to add. And it's only beneficial. There's nothing wrong with the revisions.
Gamini, beta, tell us like how many revisions you would have done for the whole syllabus or portions of the syllabus.
So I do not remember the exact number of revisions that I might have done, but one advice that I can give is that do as many revisions as possible. So at least 3 revisions should be done in my mindset, but anything more than that is only going to add to the benefit, because as much we revise, we are better able to memorize, and revisions are very, very important when the syllabus is so vast.
Yes. Gamini, please share like what should an aspirant not do while preparing for UPSC?
That's a very different question, I must say, and that's something which is needed also. One thing I would say is do not start the preparation without knowing the demand of UPSC. So do not start without planning. That's the first thing that I would suggest the aspirants. Second is, do not listen to every video that is coming out. Once you have made your mind, just stick to the sources that you think, that you have noted down well. Plan very well in advance, but once you have decided the plan, then just maneuver it as per your convenience or as per what you feel is important, and not what everybody else is telling you. So keeping away from the comparisons is very important. Thirdly is to not avoid revisions and do not take mock tests very lightly. These are the mistakes I think that we tend to do, and even I did in my first attempt, and that costed me an attempt, and I think that should be avoided. So mock tests must be given seriously in a particular time limit, and they must be analyzed really well.
Yes, in fact I suggest students to, if they're doing it at home, then not to have their air conditioning on, because
Yes.
you will be giving the examination in a government school.
Yes.
Typically.
So that reminds me that I have written my mock papers in the government school, in the nearby school. So I used to go there and sit at a table which was away from the fan, away from the tube light. So I tried to replicate the surroundings that I'll be getting in the actual examination.
Yes.
And it does help a lot.
Yes. Gamini, what would you say are some common myths associated with the UPSC exam?
So I think the biggest myth about the UPSC is that this optional is scoring very well this year, next year this optional is doing well. I think every optional is good enough. It's just about your interest, and what you choose is good. Just do not change the optional because a particular topper had this particular option.
Yes.
So optional must be chosen according to your interest and as per the factors I mentioned earlier. So one myth is that. And the second is again the myth about the pattern of the exam, that current affairs have been dominating from 2-3 years. So this year also we need to give more focus to the current, or this subject is being dominating. So I think all the subjects are equally important. So it's just a myth if there is any pattern being derived out of that. So we should not fall into the trap, because that can cost you an entire year.
Right. Any three main success tips that you will give to aspirants?
So if I have just to concise it to 3 things,
Yes.
I would say it's hard work, right strategy and patience.
Yes, absolutely. And Gamini, when you say hard work, there are a lot of students who do genuinely put in hard work, and despite that, they don't, their hard work doesn't yield results, despite the best intentions and the a sincere amount of time being putting in. So what should one do if one doesn't attain success in the exam?
So one is that reflecting back on your failures is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And not blaming the luck solely for it, because there is definitely some mistake on our end, and to pluck that we need to reflect back upon it very nicely. So when I failed my first prelims, I made sure to go back to the questions again and understand that where I had missed the questions, whether it was lacking somewhere in the revisions or the sources were not good. So that kind of analysis needs to be done, and we need to accept our own mistakes. Sometimes we are too frightened or too disturbed by knowing that we made a mistake, but I think the moment you accept that it's okay to make mistakes and then correct them, then you can just convert your failures into success. And the second thing is that the right strategy that I mentioned, there are some rules of the game, as I mentioned about the mock tests or the revisions. So any one of them if neglected, I think the end result becomes a failure.
Yes.
So sometimes we put the 90% of the effort, but if that 10% is also remaining, then again that success does not come so
Yes.
easily.
And what changed between your failed attempt and your success? You were the same person?
I was the same person with a better direction, I would say. The hard work I was putting even in the first attempt, because I had already been preparing for 2 years.
Yes.
But I think this time the direction was more clear, and I was pretty sure in my mind not to miss on any aspect and not to compromise with a particular subject or any particular rule of the game, as I mentioned.
Right. And tell me, what was your main driving force during the preparation? What kept you motivated?
What kept me motivating was that I'd already seen the corporate world, and I knew that it is not meant for me, and I wanted to derive actual satisfaction from my career. So I knew that this services is going to give me that platform.
Yes.
And I knew that everything, all the efforts that I was putting was worth it. So that clarity of the goal, I think, and the thought that I can achieve it if I make efforts and give my wholehearted efforts to this thing. So both these things help me keep going. And apart from that, obviously your family plays a very important role, because you tend to get demotivated and everything like anxiety, fear, everything strikes you.
Yes.
So if they are by your side, they tell you that you deserve and that you can get through all of this, I think that also kept me going.
Right. And did you ever feel like quitting? Did that thought cross your mind?
Not like quitting, because I knew that I had to go through this, but sometimes I did feel like not studying for so many days, or just wanting to give up for some time and then start again. But I think in those days it's very important to keep your mind stable and just be consistent.
And did you have a plan B?
So my plan B was my engineering degree. I had scored pretty well there,
Yes.
and I even had an internship with the MNC before. So I knew that at least I'll have my career sorted. But I also knew that I do not want that kind of career. So in that sense, I did not appear for any other exam or something, because I really wanted to get into the services. So not a plan B, not a very well thought out plan B, I would say. But obviously the graduation was a plan.
But you did have a fallback option.
Yes,
in case
I
it
did
didn't
have.
work out. Yes. And how can one deal with the stress and anxiety? That's should I say integral to this whole examination cycle?
Definitely, I think mental preparation is like more than half of the game of the UPSC, because the exam brings a lot of uncertainty. First of all, despite putting all your efforts, you do not know whether the results will be there or not. And as you said, anxiety issues, stress issues, and in my times I think the exam got postponed twice, and that added to the burden a lot. In those moments, I think the motivation and your discipline, these both when work together, I think then you are able to cope up with them. Because sometimes if the motivation is a little less, then you tend to get hold of the discipline portion, and you tend to keep going that you have to put these many hours, or this much target has to be achieved. And when even the discipline shakes a little, then your motivation comes into picture, that why do you want to do this. So I think it's a collective effort of your entire mind, that you need to keep it very stable and be in touch with positive people. I think that's very, very important, because there are a lot of people who will tell you that this exam is very difficult, you might not make it, and so many people are failing.
Yes.
So it's very important to stay away from such kind of people and be in touch with the people who tell you that you can make it.
Yes.
So that's important.
And what were the biggest hurdles you faced in your preparation, Gamini?
So I think there were so many hurdles that come, and I'm sure that every aspirant goes through the same kind of hurdles. So one was that not being in touch with the friends or any family members or any relatives, and just preparing in a very isolated manner. So loneliness becomes a hurdle too, because you have to devote time to your subjects. You cannot go for the outings and for the parties.
Yes.
And there were some other hurdles that were like very serious. My grandfather passed just 3 weeks before my mains, and that became a very tough time for me to cope up with, because I was very, very close to him. So I think that added to the toughness of the exam, if I can say. And during the mains examination again, I had a very bad stomach infection before the sociology examination, and I wasn't even sure that I'll be able to go and write the exam. And even when I came out, I wasn't sure how many questions I've attempted, what I've written in that. So I think that was one hurdle that I felt could have costed me this attempt.
Right.
But luckily, with the blessings of God, I think all these hurdles have been crossed.
Gamini, any particular social issues which you think you would like to, take up sometime in your career and address?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think there are a lot of social issues, and they're very well interconnected also. So if I say that I would want to concentrate solely on the children health or the women health, I think they're not isolated departments. So as we study in the sociology, they come as a compact package.
Yes.
So anything that works well for the society, and as a civil servant, I think it's a responsibility at the end of the day to help the society in general. So I would tend to use, and I would want to use, my sociological knowledge there. So many issues like child labor, child marriage, women empowerment, and domestic abuse. I think all these issues need to be handled, and I hope that I'll get a chance and I'll be able to do something about them.
Surely you will. You have a long and bright career ahead.